Hey guys, welcome to BanQ's Deep Dive series where we cover different sustainability regulations and due diligence regulations around the globe to catch you up to speed and to kind of hopefully demystify them a bit because they can be complicated. Today we're going to dive into deforestation-free regulations with an emphasis on the EU's deforestation-free regulation. So a little bit of background. And as a quick note before we dive in, there will be a lot of information on these slides. I will just try to speak to them at a high level to be shorter and more engaging where possible. So feel free to pause or screenshot if you want to keep any of these slides. But a little bit of background of why there are these deforestation-free regulations popping up around the globe. So it is no secret that forests are important. They're important to biodiversity. There are around 1.6 billion people that rely on them to live. And so if protected and restored globally, we've also seen how important forests are to greenhouse gas mitigation and reduction. And so clearly, right, you do a quick Google search, it's no secret that protecting our forests is essential for the future of our communities around the globe. And so with that in mind, and with all the work that the EU has been doing with their Green Deal and other sustainability regulations, deforestation-free regulations have come about. This is a quick cheat sheet snapshot of what you need to know about EUDR versus the UK's version of EU deforestation-free. There's a little less information on that, so you'll see that it's a little lighter on that side. But essentially, what you need to know and what we'll dive in to is that the EU is basically looking at anyone who sources or imports timber, but then also 6 other commodities that are frequently tied to deforestation. So for example, coffee. So in order to grow coffee, we consume a lot of coffee around the world. In order to make that happen, forests have to be cut down. Or, there are some harmful practices where there could be more regenerative agriculture happening. So there are 7 main commodities: cattle, cocoa, coffee, palm oil, rubber, soy, and wood, in addition to their derivatives. So for example, a derivative of cattle could be leather or beef. A derivative of wood could be, furniture or even paper. Paper comes from paper pulp, which is derived from wood. Not all companies are going to be affected, but if you are a mid to large sized business or even a micro to small business placing products into the EU, whether or not you're an EU company, you could be US based but have a big footprint in the EU, this will affect you. So keep that in mind. What's required from you? Due diligence statements and documentation. We'll dive into that more later. And then there are some pretty severe penalties should you be found in noncompliance. And that can be huge fines, product and related revenue confiscation. It can be as serious as 12 months exclusion from public funding or grants. And so it can be pretty serious. And for those more serious or repeated infringements, you could ultimately be banned from selling these products in the EU. Not to fear, though, I know it sounds really scary, but it is very doable. And then with the UK deforestation-free regulation, it follows suit with the EUDR. Keep in mind that we're still learning a lot about these every day, but here's a quick little snapshot of what you need to know about it. Now, the reason there's a little crown on the EUDR is because that's what we're going to dive into today. There's a lot to know there. And, as updates happen, we'll be sure to come out with some new videos. But hopefully this one is hopeful for getting you guys up to speed. Now, diving into the products that are affected. Again, 7 main commodities: cattle, cocoa, coffee, palm oil, rubber, soy, and wood. Say that 3 times fast. And the majority of their derivatives. So if you go look at the official text for the EUDR, in one of the appendices, you can see a list of all the products and derivatives, and it's pretty wide-reaching. And that's why we kind of like to say from beef to books are covered. So think leather, chocolate, palm nuts, palm oil derivatives, which can be found in a lot of different packaged foods, as well as personal care products such as shampoo, conditioner, soap. And then anything like rubber related, soybeans, soybean flour, oil, et cetera, et cetera. As the regulation develops in the future, of course, more commodities and specifics may be added. Also, please enjoy my AI generated image of Darla, the deforestation-free cow. Kind of a fun little alliteration to help you remember at least that cows are included, but anyway, a lot are included. And then in terms of the companies that are in scope, so it is both EU and non-EU companies placing products within the market. So again, to know exactly if you are included, I would check out the official text. Where relevant, I would consult with your general counsel or any of your legal representatives or consultants. They will be able to tell you straight up whether or not you need to comply or not. But the fact of the matter is that if you're doing business in the EU and you work in any of those commodities or derivatives, you're probably going to have to comply. So that's what you need to know here. I think another big important thing to remember when it comes to do you or do you not have to comply is that even if you are a trader that is supporting companies that are placing these in the products into the EU market, or you're a manufacturer that's manufacturing for companies placing products into the EU market that might be affected by the EUDR, you will be asked by your customers to provide the necessary information for them to comply. So I think it can be kind of hard to wrap our minds around how far-reaching this is going to be. But yeah, basically if you work in any of those commodities derivatives in the EU or like within the supply chain, any of these commodities going into the EU, you're going to need to know about this. And you're going to need to have the information and data for compliance. Otherwise, there's some penalties. In terms of what needs to be included in your due diligence statement, there is prescribed info and documentation. Again, this can always change in the future, but essentially right now you need a due diligence statement that shows you know where your raw materials originated and that you can prove that it did not come from deforestation land. Again, lots of information on these slides. If you need to screenshot, go for it. Another interesting thing about the EUDR that I think is really cool and sets a precedence for future due diligence and sustainability regulations is that with the EUDR, it's not only about did this raw material, right? Did these soybeans come from deforestation-free land? You also have to be able to prove that your supply chain is in compliance with local human rights and environmental regulations, which is huge. It's really cool. Super exciting time to be in, innovation, supply chain, sustainability. I would say most notably, so the majority of countries, especially those that export or with big agricultural sectors that fuel global supply chains, most countries do have some sort of human rights or due diligence regulation regarding sustainable supply chains, right? So that can be anti-forced labor in the supply chain, anti-human trafficking supply chain laws, anti-child labor supply chain laws, right? So if, say, for example, you source from Malaysia or wherever, you have to make sure that you're not only not contributing to deforestation, but that you're also treating the individuals within your supply chain ethically and in accordance with due diligence laws. Consequences, once again, keeping it short and sweet. Fines, reputational damage, and in extreme repeated cases, you could be banned from selling to the EU market. Once again, a lot more on here. Enjoy my AI-generated cash cow, and feel free to screenshot this slide. But it's a big deal, and I think what we've seen in the past, I know like in the US, for example, with the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, it's been around. It went into law 2 years ago, and people are just starting to realize how much money they're losing from it and just starting to scramble to comply. So I think sooner rather than later, getting ahead of EUDR and getting on top of your compliance will be huge in protecting. Last but certainly not least, companies can expect regular authority checks and private party scrutiny. So in addition to likely yearly checks, there will be opportunity for private parties to submit substantiated concerns to authorities. So what that means is if someone, almost anyone, suspects that you aren't in compliance with the EUDR, they can submit it to EU authorities within each member state, and you can be checked and audited. So if you think you're going to get away with it for a long time, you probably won't. So just keep that in mind, especially the more global and the more complicated your supply chain is. Now, of course, a quick BanQu plug. If you are looking for an EUDR compliance partner, BanQu has been doing some work with a few forward-thinking brands I can't name yet, but basically what we help these companies do is capture and validate the required EUDR data along their supply chain to ensure that they have a handle on their supply chain, it's digitized, it's resilient, but also it is in compliance with deforestation-free regulations. So you won't get pinged, right? You'll be audit ready. You can avoid those fines. You can power those due diligence statements. And here's a list of some lovely details of what BanQu does, like such as inputting polygons and validating their accuracy. Polygons is just a fancy name for the farm plot of land from which a material originates, little section of the farm. We can also integrate with satellite providers to do deforestation-free checks. And you can also see alerts for non-compliance and reports and power reports for risk mitigation. So again, we help you capture that evidence to prove your compliance, from EUDR to local forced labor requirements, anything you need, we can help you capture that end to end. So quick little plug there. That being said, if you guys have any EUDR questions, please feel free to comment on the video. Feel free to find me on LinkedIn, Jordan Wilson. I work at BanQu. Always happy to chat EUDR and other sustainability regulations around the globe. So thank you so much, and let us know if you have any questions or if we missed anything. Maybe there's an EUDR update you've read recently and you'd like to share. Sounds good. Okay, thanks. Bye.